أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. The Shaykh rahmatullah alayh, Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower him with his mercy, begins with a new chapter. He says, Bab min ash-shirki lubsul halqati wal khayti wa nahwihima li raf'i al-bala'i aw daf'ih. It is an act of shirk. It is a form of shirk. It is from shirk to wear a bracelet or a thread in order to, or the like, in order to alleviate affliction or to ward it off. Now, the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh here in this chapter discusses an act of shirk, and in the ensuing chapters he is also going to discuss various forms, various acts of shirk. Now, why does the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh begin by discussing forms of shirk? This book is about Tawhid. Now, the reason for this is that in order to fully understand a concept, we need to understand its opposite. We can only really truly appreciate the beauty of Tawhid when we have understood the repugnance of shirk. And that is why a poet, an Arab poet said, وَبِضِدِّهِ تَتَمَيَّزَ الْأَشْيَاءُ. And through opposites do matters become clear, do concepts, do things become clear. So the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh begins discussing some acts of shirk. Now the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh begins by discussing the issue of wearing bracelets or threads in order to ward off affliction or to alleviate it. This is something which is essentially an act of minor shirk, usually a form of minor shirk. Now, why does the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh begin with minor shirk? In this chapter, the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh discusses a form of minor shirk, and he will do so in some of the following chapters. Then he will progress to forms of ash-shirk al-akbar, forms of major shirk. Why does he begin with minor shirk and then move on to forms of major shirk? The reason for this is that these acts of minor shirk, such as wearing charms and amulets and bracelets, these are forms of shirk that don't really have sophisticated arguments formulated in order to defend them. They don't really have any significant arguments in order to defend them. So once their futility, once their falsehood is established, merely showing that they entail, that they comprise of relying or turning to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is usually enough to show their falsehood, to make a person understand that these things are wrong. As for the forms of major shirk, certain various forms of major shirk, many manifestations of major shirk, they have arguments formulated in order to defend them that are somewhat more sophisticated in nature. So the Shaykh rahmatullah alayh begins with the forms of shirk that don't really have any sophisticated arguments to defend them, so that the falsehood of relying on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, turning to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, becomes firmly established in the heart of the reader, So this is, as an introduction, this is something which is made clear, which is firmly understood. And once this is understood, once turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the most basic level is understood, then the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi will move on to those forms of shirk which have more sophisticated arguments formulated in order to defend them. He'll move on to those, and then refute the arguments that are formulated, that are set up in order to defend them, in order to attempt to show that they have some sort of validity. Now, the Shaykh here discusses wearing bracelets, wearing threads in order to alleviate afflictions such as diseases, illnesses, magic, evil eye, and so on and so forth, after they occur, and to ward them off before they occur, to prevent them from occurring. And this is something which is minor shirk. Why is it minor shirk? Because the person who wears an amulet, the person who wears a thread, his heart becomes attached to these things. He begins to turn to these things and believes that they are effective, believes that they are a means in order to ward off affliction or to remove it after it happens. So he is basically turned to something which Allah turned to a means which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not prescribed through His Sharia, through His scriptures, nor through His divine laws of nature, through His qadr. Now, the ulama mention that it is not actually permissible to take something as a means unless one of two conditions is fulfilled. We know that we are required, in order to achieve certain ends, that we do have to take some means. But in order for them to be permissible, one of two conditions has to be fulfilled. Either there has to be a text in the Quran or in the Sunnah that sanctions the use of these means, or it should be something which is well known through experience, that it is something that is well known through experience that it is effective. Its effect should be well known through experience, and its effectiveness should be something which can actually be observed, and not something which is thought to be a form of supernatural means. Now, some ulama actually mention a principle. They say that whoever establishes a means to an end which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not sanctioned through His Sharia, nor can it be proved, nor can it be observed, then he has committed shirk. And on the whole, this is a correct principle. There are some scenarios that one might have difficulty in understanding them entering. There are some scenarios that might not enter into it. Some scenarios that might not enter. But on the whole, this is a qaida, a principle which is correct. Now, I mentioned that wearing a bracelet or wearing a thread is a form of a shirk al-asghar. But it can, in certain cases, it can actually be a form of a shirk al-akbar. There are situations in which a person can be guilty of a shirk al-akbar if he wears an amulet or if he wears a thread. It is, as I said, it's minor shirk when he believes that it is a means to achieving a certain end. But however, if he actually believes that this bracelet or this thread, that it is effective in and of itself, not as a means, but by itself, exclusively from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, that it can have an effect in warding off evil or in alleviating affliction, then the person is guilty of Shirk al-Akbar, because he has given the khasa'is of rububiyyah, he's given the characteristics of rububiyyah, of lordship, of Allah's lordship, to these insignificant things, to these bracelets or these amulets. And in general, any act which is minor shirk normally can reach the level of a shirk al-akbar, depending on the belief held by the person guilty of that act. And I'll explain these as I go along. When I talk about the different forms of a shirk al-asghar, I'll mention how they can reach the level of a shirk al-akbar and in what situation.